Okay guys, today I'm happy to give you a look at the unboxing video for the Claustrophobia expansion De Profundis. De Profundis is not available yet. I believe there are some on their way to Essen, and they're going to be available here in the States in November. I was lucky enough to get an advanced copy of this game, so it's going to be a few weeks before I get a review done, but I wanted to show you what's in the box, so why don't we go ahead and take a look. The De Profundis expansion is typically the type of expansion I like as a gamer. It's basically adding more of what we liked with the base game in an expansion without a lot of new rules. So with the expansion, you're going to get 10 new tiles, 4 new figures, which we'll go over here in a little bit, 52 new cards, 2 character stands, and your damage tokens. So when you open the box, this is what you're going to see first. You can see we've got a beautifully illustrated manual. Basically all the artwork in this game is well done, just like it was in the base Claustrophobia game. And then you've got one cardboard sheet inside the manual here, which we'll take a look at now. So you've got basically your cave-in tokens, which come into play in some of the scenarios, your 2 new character cards for the female warriors, which we'll get into a little bit. You've got tokens for teleportation. Some of those smaller tokens are used in the individual scenarios themselves. Here's the back of the rule book. The back of the rule book, of course, has the breakdown of the new tiles. There's not a combination of both new and old, so someone will need to make a sheet at some point. The rules themselves, the rule book is basically about 23 pages, 24 pages long. About a page and a half of that is taken up with an explanation of the new cards and the Hellhound rules and the new female warrior rules. The rest of it is scenarios. So if you want scenarios, you're going to get them with this expansion. Obviously, the scenarios have some special rules in each case, much like the base game. So here's the box with the top portion removed. These are the tiles. They are the same quality as the base game, and I compared them side by side. I don't notice any printing errors. What I mean by that is I can't tell that one tile is from the base game and one is from the expansion, so that's a good thing. Next up are the cards. We're going to show you the cards a little bit later and talk about some of them. But there's 52 cards, and we've got new events. We've got skill cards for the new warriors, which I'll get into in a second. Of course, you've got your red damage tokens, and then you've got the 2 plastic stands down there, which I'm not going to bother taking out of the box. And then we've got our figures, which is pretty much what everybody wants to see. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at those in a second in a close-up. So here are our 2 new female warriors. I believe it's pronounced Sakarya. These warriors act just like the condemned warriors from the base game, with the exception of that they can be given skills at the beginning of a scenario to increase their powers. The skills are acquired the same way the Redeemer acquires his gifts in the base game. The warriors themselves cannot have the same skill, which is pretty hard to do considering there's only 1 card for each skill. There's not that many skill cards, but you can see the figures here are very nicely done. You might see some paint blemishes from these zoomed up shots, but I guarantee you can't see them to the naked eye. So here's our Hellhound figures. There's 2 of them that come with the game. The Hellhound is considered its own unique figure. In other words, they're not a Trog or a Demon. They must be targeted independently. The Demon player can bring them on the board for 3 TP apiece. They each come with a stat card with different lines, much like the player stat cards. So you can assign a die of destiny to them. Basically, when you assign a die, it's going to give them better stats and special abilities. If you don't assign a die, they will act instinctively, and they have some very bad stats at that point. It's basically 0-0 for defense. So here's the group together, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the other stuff that comes with the game. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some of the other components. First up is one of the new female warrior cards. You can see the stat line there. Nothing special here. Typical stuff. And here are some of the tiles. Like I said from before, we've got cave-in tiles, we've got teleport tiles, we've got under the sign of Satan tile, what else do we have there? Survival Instinct. I can't remember the others. Here are some of the advantage cards that come with the game. And these can be shuffled right in and played with the base game. Here are some of the event cards. The event cards cannot be shuffled right in. They are used specifically for the scenario. There's the Hellhound card that I was talking about before. The only thing that I've noticed that I do not like is that some of the deck can be shuffled in, some of them are scenario based. There's an object card. There's nothing to indicate that the card is from this expansion that I can see in the rule book or I can see on the card. Separating them out at a later time could prove difficult. You're going to have to make a list basically if you want to separate these out and play some of the base scenarios. So I'll need to take a closer look at that during the review, but from what I can tell, that's a situation we have. Here's the skill cards for the female warriors, and they have some really nice skills. There's Brutal right there. You can probably read what it says it does, so I won't read them to you verbatim. And here are some of the new tiles. We've got some tiles for Fog, which basically gives any warrior on it a defense of 6. There's a Healing Fountain. There's a Tomb. There's a Sanctified Zone. There's a Demonic Well. I'll get into these more when I go ahead and review the game. So that's a look at the De Profundis expansion, and I'm going to roll out here with some cards for you to look at. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, we'll have some reviews, and we'll have a review and some session reports in the upcoming weeks once we get to play this. Thanks a lot. Check oldboardgamers.com for reviews, videos, and more.